Hello everyone. Today we will study ancient civilization of the world. In this chapter, we will cover the topics the great civilization of the world. In this also we will discuss about the three civilizations like Egyptian civilization, Mesopotamia civilization, and lastly it is Chinese civilization. And after that also we will discuss about art, architecture, and lifestyle of different civilizations. First, we will see what is the meaning of civilization. Civilization means an advanced state of social and cultural development, or in simple words, you can say a society that is having the advanced social and cultural way of life. It is called as civilization. Many other civilizations flourished in various parts of the world at the time of Indus Valley civilization. We can see the Egyptian civilization, Mesopotamia civilization, and Chinese civilization in Asia and Africa. Now first we will discuss about the Egyptian civilization. Here Egypt is a country in Africa continent. The Egyptian civilization. Generally all civilizations have originated or developed in the river plains. The Egyptian civilization could take birth due to the presence of river Nile. The relicts obtained here proclaim that the gender of Egyptian huge pyramids, sculptures, temples, and the inscription in these temples tells us a lot about Egyptian culture and history. Now, the contribution of Egyptians. The Egyptians were expert farmers. They knew a lot about irrigation. Irrigation is the supply of water with the help of canals and wells. They had built temples. They invented the calendar, which had helped us to measure time. More than anything else, they had mastered the art of writing. It was a symbolic language. It consists of all small drawings and has been called hieroglyphics or the sacred writing. Now next it is the Nile Valley. First we have to understand what is valley. Valley means area between hill and mountain with a river. It is called as valley. Every rainy season, the Nile River could transfer the Nile Valley into a huge lake. After the valley dried up in a summer, a fertile layer of clay soil could form a huge grazing field and neighboring agricultural lands. The work that could need the labor of hundreds of people was being done by the kind river all alone. This fertile land provided food for the population of the first town in the area. Not all the agricultural regions were in the valley, hence through small canals and wells, they were responsible for the development of a complex system of irrigation throughout the land. The prosperous, wealthy Egyptian peasants means farmers and citizens, during their leisure engaged themselves in the creation of artistic works. The role of the priest was created to interpret nature and explain it. The priests were scholars and shouldered the responsibility of protecting written documents. They believed in after death. They believed that man had to give an account of his deeds on earth to Osiris, the most powerful god of life and death. The priest considered that life on earth was temporary and was needed only to prepare for the next life. Thus, the whole of the Nile Valley was reserved for dead. The dead bodies could be simmered with various chemicals and wrapped with a thin cloth. The entire body was in this way preserved. The body protected thus was called as mummy. It could be kept in a specially designed coffin. The grave was considered the true place for the Egyptians. Hence, all around the dead bodies, items needed for daily use and small dolls of a cook and barber could be kept to fulfill all future needs. In the beginning, graves were created by carving into the rock in the hills. As the Egyptians moved north, they had to construct graves in the desert itself. Tall towers were built on these graves using huge blocks of stone in order to protect the eternal sleep of the dead. Kings and wealthy people bid with each other to build taller and taller towers. The Greeks called this structure as pyramids. The kings of Egyptians were called as pharaohs. First, we have to see what is the meaning of pyramids. Pyramid means a large structure built especially in the ancient Egypt that usually has square base and four triangular sides meeting at a point and contains the tombs. Tombs means grave. It is called as pyramid. It is clear for you. And afterwards we have to see what is pharaohs. The Egyptian kings are called as pharaohs, means a person who live in a celestial house. Celestial means the extremely large or spacious. The peasants who had accepted the rule of powerful Osiris now accepted the rule of pharaohs too. After an independent, prosperous life of 20 centuries, Egypt was ruled over by the Arabian shepherd tribe called Hyksos, which attacked it and after defeating it, ruled for 500 years. They looted the wealth of the natives and hence did not become powerful. The Jews who come wandering through the desert in search of shelter were also headed by the people of Egypt. By cooperating with the foreign rule, the Jews even assisted them in collecting taxes and in administration. In 700 BCE, before Common Era, in 1700 BCE, the people of Thebes rose a revolt against the foreigners. After prolonged conflict, they succeeded in driving hopes out of their country. Egypt became free once again. After 1,000 years, it came under the rule of Sardanapalus of Assyria. Here Assyria also the place of the emperor of Mesopotamia. The Persian emperor Cambyses occupied Egypt in the 6th century BCE. Alexander occupied Persia in the 4th century BCE. Egypt became a province of Macedonia. Macedonia it is a country in Europe. One of the Alexander's military generals declared himself the king of Egypt and established the dynasty, and he founded the city Alexandria. At last came to the Romans in 39 BCE. The last Egyptian queen, Cleopatra, tried her best to save her country. It was said that the Romans feared her beauty more than her troops. Twice she was successful in her attack upon the hearts of her Roman conquerors. However, in 30 BCE, Cassius' successor, his son-in-law Augustus, did not succumb to her beauty like his father-in-law, but defeated her army through the spared her life. When he planned to carry her away along with the other spoils of the battle, Cleopatra consumed poison and ended her life. From then onwards, Egypt became a province of Rome. With this, Egyptian civilization is ended. Now we will deal with the Mesopotamia Civilization. Mesopotamia is presently known as Iraq. Mesopotamia is an area that lies in a valley between two rivers. Many of the places described in the Old Testament can be seen here. A land which inspired awe and fascination is called the land between the rivers or Mesopotamia by the Greeks. The two rivers, Euphrates and Tigris, had made this Western Asia barren land very fertile. It was the fertility of this area that attracted the people to it. Since food crops could be grown with little effort, the northern hilly tribes and the southern nomadic tribes of the desert tried to establish control over this area. The rivalry between these tribes led to a new number of endless conflicts. However, in the midst of this conflict, there emerged a civilization of strong and brave race. The Sumerians were the first ones to evolve a system of writing in Mesopotamia. For centuries, all those were entered the fertile valley. The Sumerians, Babylonians, Assyrians, and Persians used this system of writing, which was called as cuneiform. The central area of this civilization was the southern part of the valley between Euphrates and Tigris River. From the olden times, this area had been referred to as Babylonia. The northern part of Babylonia was called Akkad and the southern part were Sumer. The northern part of Mesopotamia was known as Assyria. Now, the history of Mesopotamia is a story of endless hatred and conflict. The Sumerians, the hilly tribe from the north, were the first to arrive here. They who used to worship their gods on the top of the hills after coming to the plains, built artificial hills and established their places of worship. These were called as ziggurats. Here we have to understand what is the meaning of ziggurat, a temple tower of ancient Mesopotamia valley, having the form of a terrace pyramid. It is called as ziggurat. This place they are using for the worshipping. These were called as ziggurats. They did not know how to build streets and therefore surrounded them with sloping galleries. The Jews called these the Towers of Babel. Here it is. The Sumerians had entered Mesopotamia in 4000 BCE. Later they were overpowered by Akkadians, one of the tribe of Arabian desert. These are known as Semites. After 1000 years, these Akkadians came to rule over by the Amorites, another Semitic tribe. The most famous king of Amorites was Hammurabi. He got built a fabulous palace of himself in Babylonia. He framed a courts of justice and made Babylonia to be considered the best administrated kingdom in the whole of the world. The Hittites who came later occupied the valley and destroyed all that they could not carry away. These Hittites were defeated by the Assyrians, who were the followers of Asura, the desert god. The Assyrians occupied the whole of the West Asia and Egypt till about 7th century BCE and collected taxes from all the people. There another Semitic tribe, the Chaldeans, re-established Babylonia in 17th century BCE and developed it into a prominent capital of that time. Nebuchadnezzar was the greatest king among them. He encouraged the study of science, but the Chaldeans came under the attack of Persians in 6th century BCE. 200 years later, Alexander transferred this place of Semitic people into Greek province. After the rulers of the Romans and the Turks who followed Alexander, this civilization declined and turned into a wilderness. Here we have completed about Mesopotamia civilization. Now we will see the Chinese civilization. It is a special feature of all the ancient civilizations that were established on the river plains. The Chinese civilization was no exception of this, but the river which led to the establishment of the Chinese civilization was known as China's Sorrow. This was Hongo River. After the floods, the Hongo River changed its course in an unpredictable manner and indotted means flows everything, indotted houses and agricultural lands. It could be rendered all the canals useless. This was the reason the people of that area referred to it as a symbol of sorrow. According to the archaeological evidences, the first ruling family of the Chinese civilization was Shang dynasty. It ruled in the period between 18th century BCE and the 12th century BCE. Under the rule of this dynasty, the people had developed a wonderful culture. By the 14th century BCE, the Shang dynasty was overpowered by the neighboring Zhou dynasty. The Zhou dynasty continued the good traditions of the Shang culture and ruled till 250 BCE. In the Zhou dynasty, there was a section of officials below the kings. The king allotted portions of land to the officials. In return for that, the officials supported the king during battles. In the social stratification, the communities in the next level were the merchants and craftsmen. Apart from them, we can find a great majority of peasants. Peasants means farmers as peasants as well. In the lowest strata of social hierarchy were the slaves. The prisoners of the war were made slaves by the king. Now we'll discuss about the Great Wall of China. The Chinese Empire consisted of many small provinces. 7 big states were created, bringing these smaller provinces under them. Every state that was created thus constructed a wall along its boundaries for the protection, and this wall has been built by Emperor Qin Shangti, ordered that the walls of the northern Chinese states be connected. This enabled the northern walls to ward off the attacks of the invaders from the north. The construction of the Great Wall began in 7th century BCE and continued till 16th century. The wooden parts were repaired and strengthened. When the work was completed, it stretched to more than 5,000 kilometers. It is one of the 7 wonders of the world. The Shang king spent quite amount of time in conquest the battles. Hence, the army was in prominence. The soldiers enjoyed a dignified place in society. Soldiers wear bronze helmets and the metal armors. The bronze figures, axes, bows and iron-tipped arrows which they used have been found. The people of Shang dynasty depended on agriculture. They had well-organized system of irrigation. They used to grow plenty of rice. The Chinese used to wear thin cotton dresses. They used silk too and engaged in silkworming. Tearing, silk manufacturing was a prominent industry. The Chinese used to make excellent pouch and had learned to make various objects from porcelain. Here porcelain means a hard white substance that is used for making expensive cups and plates. It is called as porcelain. It was a custom of the Chinese to worship their ancestors. They believed that a dead man became a spirit and that the spirit had special power. The dead body was buried along with various wooden articles, pots, bronze vessels and other objects. The tombs of kings used to quite large. Tombs means graves. The Chinese traditions of writing began with pictures and got transformed into an ideographic script. Writers used to write on silk and bamboo slips. Porcelain and the Great Wall are the exceptional contribution of Chinese culture. Here with this, we have completed the 3 civilizations: Egyptian civilization, Mesopotamian civilization, and lastly Chinese civilization. Hope it is clear for you. If you are having any doubt, you can ask in the comment section. Thank you.